Trixie's Forest Retreat by Crow's Crow. Chapter 79. Reliable. Trixie pushed her empty plate away from her with a satisfied sigh. Working all day had left her hungry as a horse, and she had eaten 3 times as much as usual to compensate. The only one at the table that rivaled her on this was Rainbow Dash, though she tended to eat a lot anyway. Fluttershy, on the other hoof, barely ate anything, which Trixie could only attribute to her not feeling all that well yet. All in all, it had been a pretty peaceful, quiet dinner, though Trixie was aware that was in part because if Rainbow Dash tried to talk about her day, she'd give Trixie away. Meanwhile, she caught more than a few looks from Rainbow Dash of increasing urgency. Trixie knew exactly what that was about. It meant she was waiting for Trixie to fess up to Fluttershy, and losing patience. Meanwhile, Trixie tried to stall. This was one of the best days she had ever had, and she wanted to put off ruining it for as long as possible. She shifted nervously while she tried to think of something, anything, to talk about that was not related to anything that could lead to a conversation that did not touch on how their day had been. So, Fluttershy, Dash was about to tell Trixie what she had in mind. "You wanted to know to right?" Fluttershy perked her ears up. "Oh, you really haven't discussed it yet?" She looked surprised, but pleased while she nodded. "Yes, if you don't mind." She looked over at Rainbow Dash. Briefly giving Trixie a glare with narrowed eyes, Rainbow Dash turned her attention to Fluttershy, smiling. "Oh, so Trixie was right. Well, it's kinda cheesy, I guess. But if you really want." She got up from the table and gathered the plates. "It can wait though. Fluttershy, I'll handle the dishes on my own. You girls can just talk about your day, till I'm back, then I'll talk about mine." She stared directly at Trixie as she emphasized those words, then carried the dishes into the kitchen, closing the door behind her. Fluttershy gave Dash a confused look. "Oh, thank you, Rainbow Dash. But, don't you want to hear?" "Oh, she's gone." She stared at the closed door for a moment, then turned her attention back to Trixie, looking thoroughly puzzled. I guess I was, sleeping, so I don't have much to tell." "You two were teeth together all day. So, she already knows it all. But then what does she want to tell about hers?" Trixie swallowed, nervously. There could be no doubt about it. This was Dash's ultimatum, and she knew it. Either Trixie told Fluttershy right now, or Dash would. It's not that bad, right? Trixie only did it for her. Yeah. Not even her internal monologue sounded convinced of that, much to Trixie's dismay. "You Fluttershy? There's something that, about today. Trixie thinks you should know." Perhaps that was not the wisest choice of words, because Fluttershy's musing look stiffened into an uncomfortable, scared stare. What do you mean? Did something happen?" Her eyes teared up while she visibly tried her best to stay steady. "Oh no, it's the duck family, isn't it? I told Daisy the ducks weren't supposed to make nests in trees. To come inside for the storm, but she wouldn't listen. Oh, if only I'd asked her more nicely." "No. Wait. Trixie waved her hooves frantically. "Daisy is fine. She got down and joined the geese in the hollow stump, like you asked. All Trixie had to do was put the nest back in the tree. The animals are fine, really." The panic faded from Fluttershy's face, and she breathed a sigh of relief, allowing her naturally serene look to return. "Oh, thank goodness." Her gaze lingered on the window facing the forest for a moment, before she snapped out of it, blushing with embarrassment. "I'm sorry, Trixie. You were trying to tell me something." Yes." Like Trixie said, she put the nest back in the tree, but she also gave Daisy food. Becoming more hesitant to continue, she looked at Fluttershy. Fluttershy waited patiently for Trixie to finish her story. A soft smile was on her face, but Trixie could tell she was still a little on edge, as though she still expected to hear something she was not going to like. And Trixie gave food to the others too. As Trixie thought about it, the way she went about telling Fluttershy was pretty terrible. By making such a big deal out of it, she'd freaked Fluttershy out once already, and right now there were probably 1,000 different things she was worrying about. The whole point was so that she wouldn't worry. Trixie closed her eyes for a moment. Maybe if she didn't look it wouldn't be so bad. It didn't help. She needed a different approach. Opening her eyes again, she gave a big smile. "Ah, sorry." Trixie is making it sound like it's a bad thing. Actually, what Trixie meant to say was, Trixie had such a great day, she feels fantastic. She flexed comedically to accentuate her point. Taken by complete surprise, Fluttershy giggled and shook her head. "Oh, well, it's good you're so energetic, Trixie. Just try not to overdo it, okay?" She contemplated for a moment, then gave Trixie a knowing smile. "Oh, I understand now. You cheated a little, didn't you? That's why you were nervous?" "A little?" Waving her hoof dismissively, Trixie puffed up her chest. "You've caught Trixie. She did your chores, and she did so perfectly, of course." Fluttershy laughed softly, and picked up her mug, bringing it to her lips. "Was there ever any doubt?" she asked with a playful tone, causing Trixie to giggle, then took a sip of her tea. "Ah, so that's what Rainbow Dash meant when she said she'd been rough on you." Fluttershy looked much happier with the realization. "She let you help. No wonder you were a mess." "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean it like, it's just you hit the mud, and, Trixie waved the apology away with a grin. "It's fine, you should have seen Trixie before she rinsed most of it off. You'd never know it was Trixie." This was her chance. Fluttershy had already figured out most of it, and apparently she was delighted by it. But, well, Rainbow Dash kinda wasn't there. She had to deal with the clouds and stuff. But Trixie did everything fine, promise. Perking up her ears, Fluttershy smiled. "Oh, so you weren't together all day?" Fluttershy paused as she said it, then set down her cup with a look that Trixie could only describe as pure disbelief. "So she left you alone?" Fluttershy got up from the table, and stepped towards the kitchen door. From her angle, Trixie could barely see it, but it was with a stare that Trixie was half sure would burn the door down. It was scary to witness even the faintest hint of it. It occurred to Trixie she better hurry and clear Rainbow Dash of blame. Quickly, she followed after Fluttershy. No, it's not like that. Dash was already gone when Trixie came to see you this morning. Trixie knew Rainbow Dash wouldn't be back until tonight, but you needed rest." Fluttershy froze, and panned back towards Trixie, making her flinch briefly. Fortunately, any trace of the anger from before was already gone. The disbelief was still there though, yet comprehension was shining through. What? So? You lied about Rainbow Dash being here?" Trixie nodded slowly. Trixie lied. Averting her gaze, she tried to avoid having to look at Fluttershy. "Oh, Trixie. I'm so sorry," Fluttershy whispered. Confused, Trixie looked up, and found Fluttershy tearfully staring at her. "What? No, why? Trixie is the one who should be sorry." "But..." She took a deep breath and stood up straight. "But, Trixie would do it again." Fluttershy shook her head urgently, and stepped closer. No, don't you understand? That was really dangerous. I know you feel really well, but that's the most treacherous part. Head injuries make you very vulnerable, and heal slowly, but you will feel better before you actually are better." Trixie felt her bravado drain out of her. Fluttershy looked genuinely terrified. "No pony knew where you were." We both thought you were with the other. What if something had happened to you? What if you had tripped, or hit your head? Do you know what could have happened if you had a seizure, or overexerted yourself and passed out? Neither of us would know to even begin looking for you, until Rainbow Dash returned in the evening. But Trixie is fine, see? Trixie offered, weakly. She couldn't help but think what would have happened if she would have fallen out of the tree while returning Daisy's nest that morning. Would Trixie still be laying there? Fluttershy closed in another step, and wrapped her hooves around Trixie, pulling her close. Her voice was shaky. Thank goodness you are, but, please, Trixie, please never do that again. I know it's my fault for making you feel like it was your only option, but I don't know what I'd do if you got hurt because of me again. I'm supposed to help you get better, not worse. Trixie winced as Fluttershy showed a surprising amount of strength in her forelegs, but her attention was firmly on what she'd said. It was starting to make sense now why Fluttershy babied her to such an infuriating extent, never allowing her to do anything. Other than boredom, Trixie had never made any comments on her condition. For fear of being detained even longer, she even downplayed it. Which meant all Fluttershy had to go on were a few simple tests, and Trixie's word that she was okay. The last time Fluttershy had given Trixie any leeway, Trixie had asked to visit the castle of the two sisters, within the Everfree forest. Trixie barely had gotten the okay to do a chore or two back then, and she had quickly seized that inch to take a mile. Fluttershy had trusted Trixie, even if she had stressed that Trixie had to be careful. Trixie had been too excited with the prospect of spending the day with Fluttershy to actually follow that advice. In hindsight, the whole thing was a terrible idea from the outset. It had not occurred to Trixie until now, but Fluttershy took a big risk, based solely on how much she trusted Trixie at the time. A chill ran over Trixie's back as she recalled the event. Everything had been going, relatively, fine until they met the Timberwolves. Mere wooden golems, yet they had been far more terrifying than real wolves. With Fluttershy's help, Trixie had succeeded in taking out one of them, yet she had no choice but to force herself to use her magic for the other three. Just remembering the act made Trixie's head pound. It was not even a complicated spell, but she collapsed straight after using it. Even after she woke up, she was unable to move, and had to watch in terror while Fluttershy tried to distract the reassembled Timberwolf Alpha. The mere memory was so painful and frightening it served as a deterrent to ever using her magic again. If not for Rainbow Dash, Trixie shuddered to think what might have happened. So much took place so rapidly, that Trixie had not truly spent time thinking on all of it. Only the major events had stood out to Trixie at the time, but now it occurred to her that afterward, Fluttershy had asked her how she felt. For the second time, Trixie claimed she was just fine, and again Fluttershy took her word for it. Just how much has Trixie lied to Fluttershy so far? Trixie felt a heavy sensation in her stomach as she pondered the question. Even before Rainbow Dash, as far as Trixie knew, beat her up, Trixie had already been quivering on her last legs from just the stress alone. The hospital visit left little doubt as to how much damage forcing magic had done. Then there was Trixie's brilliant decision to break out of the hospital, straight after aggravating her condition in the worst possible ways, and take a stroll through the town. Thinking back on it, Trixie had to wonder just what the hay was wrong with her. It's no wonder Fluttershy treats Trixie like a fool now. Unwittingly, Trixie had proved to Fluttershy that she could not be trusted to know her own limit, at all. Of course she doesn't listen when Trixie says she can do something. She was scared this whole time that something would happen to Trixie again. It felt so wrong to have Fluttershy be the one apologizing, when Trixie was the one who had been in the wrong. She wrapped her hooves around Fluttershy, enjoying the soft feeling of her coat against her own. Shaking her head to regain her focus, Trixie spoke in a hushed tone. This isn't fair, Fluttershy. Trixie is the one who lied. Why do you always make it about you? Let Trixie take the blame for once. She let out a soft chuckle. Trixie can't promise she won't worry you again, but she can promise she'll be honest, okay? Trixie felt Fluttershy's grip tighten. She didn't even think that was possible. Fluttershy shook her head gently. No, you don't understand. If I hadn't told you I was sick, then you wouldn't have needed to lie. It was sometimes hard for Trixie to get a good read on Fluttershy, but this time her logic made absolutely no sense to her. Fluttershy? Trixie is happy you told her. It's not your fault you caught a cold. Besides, she kind of knew right away, remember? Tentatively, Trixie ran a hoof along Fluttershy's back in an attempt to soothe her. It took a few tries to get used to the wings. Each time she felt the feathers instead of fur, she had to steer away from them. Fluttershy tensed up as Trixie spoke. All right. A cold? Sure. She mumbled softly. Though Fluttershy stayed quiet after that for a while, she noticeably relaxed under the careful strokes. Finally she spoke up again. I'm sorry. Feeling Fluttershy return to her soft self, Trixie felt a warmth inside her chest, celebrating her small victory. At least there is something Trixie can do right. Gently, Trixie pushed away from Fluttershy, and showed her a warm smile, trying to coax out Fluttershy's own. It's kind of funny actually. Rainbow Dash just got through bragging Pegasus never get cold. Can you believe she tried to tell Trixie that right after she came home half frozen? Giggling, Trixie shook her head with the notion. Fluttershy gave back a weak smile. Well. She exaggerates a little, sometimes. I thought you knew. Smirking, Trixie looked at Fluttershy while she tilted her head curiously. What's this now, Fluttershy? Are you trying to set a record for the understatement of the century? Because that had to be a contender by Trixie's count. Finally, a sweet sound that Trixie had been waiting for emanated from the kind mare before her, though whether her joke was that good or that cheesy Trixie didn't know, nor did she care. Trixie closed her eyes for a moment, recollecting some importance into her voice. But, seriously. Fluttershy, Trixie promises she will try to be more honest with you, about how Trixie feels. She knows just where to start too, but it would be easier if Rainbow Dash was here for it so. Trixie looked toward the kitchen door and called out. Rainbow Dash. The great and all-knowing Trixie knows you are right behind the door, eavesdropping. Get in here. A startled yelp came from the other side of the door, followed by what sounded like hooves being smacked against a muzzle. A few seconds passed, before the door swung open to reveal Rainbow Dash, doing her best impression of casual. Oh hey, you called? Grinning, Trixie rolled her eyes. It does not take that long to do dishes, unless Trixie is doing them. The supposed fastest in Equestria has no excuse. Piff, says you. Maybe I did them so fast I decided to take a nap while you girls were talking about boring stuff. Rainbow Dash let her eyes trail down briefly to the hooves wrapped around the pair, then brought them back up with a teasing smirk. Well, good to see you've kissed and made up. Perking up her ears, Trixie flashed a devilish smile at Fluttershy. She turned her attention to Rainbow Dash, and lifted one hoof up to tenderly stroke over Fluttershy's cheek while she held eye contact with Dash. Not yet, Dashy, we were waiting for you to join us before any kissing happened. Oh, the look on Dash's face, Trixie would remember it for years. Her jaw practically hit the floor, staring wide-eyed at her friends. It clearly was going to take Dash more than a few minutes to piece enough of her mind back together for a retort. Admittedly, Trixie's bluff was quickly exposed due to Fluttershy's reaction. She had gasped under the caress, and, like a traffic light, the mare's face colored from yellow to beet red within seconds. Fluttershy stared up at Trixie, clearly too shocked to break the hug they were sharing. With a few false starts though, Fluttershy managed to stammer at a barely audible level. Let's save kissing for another time, alright. Trixie had been ready for a lot of things, most of them involved Fluttershy hiding behind her mane and mumbling something far too quietly. But this took her by complete surprise. Did Fluttershy just tease too? It actually made Trixie drop the ball for a moment as she just stared at Fluttershy in sheer astonishment. It was only when Trixie took notice of Fluttershy's rapidly alternative gaze that she remembered there was another target in the room. Following Fluttershy's stare, Trixie found Rainbow Dash, with the same look of amazement in her eyes, and ready for takeoff. Trixie smirked. Upon catching Trixie's gaze, Rainbow Dash flew up in the air and swooped towards them. She appeared to have caught on by this point, as her surprised gawk had turned to a smirking mug. "I hate you both so much. Jokes should have punchlines, you know, and me hitting you does not count." Trixie grinned up at her meh friend. "Oh, good, so that means you won't be calling Trixie for this?" "Ha, considering you got Fluttershy to join on a prank, I guess I'll let you live. You might be a good influence on her yet, but I better get what you promised later." Rainbow Dash chuckled, landing beside them. She wrapped a hoof around Fluttershy. "Way to go, Fluttershy. But remember, next time, poker face." Though she smiled with the praise, Fluttershy was still as red as could be. Rainbow Dash's last comment was met with an uncomprehending tilt of her head, and a contemplative look soon after. As far as Trixie could tell, Fluttershy appeared to be in deep thought on Dash's advice. Perhaps she would take some time later to explain the concept to her. The idea of giving Fluttershy some acting classes actually was fairly appealing. It would make for something fun to do together. For the moment though, Trixie had more important things to talk about. "All right, enough of that. Trixie wanted to talk with you two about something. How about we head for the living room?" Rainbow Dash nodded. "Yeah, sure. Is something wrong, Trixie?" She jumped up, spreading out her wings to fly toward the door. Wait, please. I don't understand." Fluttershy mumbled, embarrassed. She shrank under their gauzes as they both turned to look at her. Quick as ever, Rainbow Dash spoke first. "What's up, Fluttershy?" Though Trixie suspected they both knew what it was that Fluttershy was unclear on. It was a little bit disappointing that Rainbow Dash got the first crack at explaining the whole thing to Fluttershy, but Trixie was fairly sure it would be pretty entertaining to see Rainbow Dash struggle with explaining a concept of deception to the naive sweet mare. No wait. It's not really fair to think she's that clueless. It's not as if she's not been around Rainbow Dash most of her life. She's bound to know plan. Well, it's just... Why would I poke her face? Trixie lost it. Chapter 80. Reschedule. Trixie looked out the window, appreciating the setting sun as it colored the sky in a beautiful shade of crimson. Amusingly enough, she could look to the left and find that very same color, all over Fluttershy's face. The three of them had retreated into the living room and gotten comfortable on the couch. For some time, the conversation ran the gambit between explanations, poker face being the first of many, snickering, and the occasional apology for the snickering. In the commotion, Trixie had not paid attention and sat down on the right end of the couch, while Fluttershy had taken the middle, which meant Rainbow Dash was all the way on the other end. Truthfully, Trixie felt terrible for laughing at Fluttershy like that, but she really couldn't help herself. Hopefully she'd have some chance to redeem herself soon. In brief, Trixie told her friends about her meeting with Derpy, and the rumors that were apparently starting up. It only made sense to share her concerns, especially after making a promise to do so more often. Fluttershy just shook her head. "That's not very nice of them." "But, it's not as bad as it sounds, Trixie. There is not much that goes on in Ponyville. Oh, not that it is a boring place, but it's peaceful and quiet. Most of the time that is. So ponies like to gossip a lot. I don't think many ponies take it seriously." "I hope." Rainbow Dash scowled, and for once seeing the volatile mare angry actually soothed Trixie. It was nice to have somebody else outraged on her behalf. It saved her half the work. Just wait till I get my hooves on whoever started those rumors. I bet Rarity or Pinky might know. There's plenty of things somebody could say about you without making stuff up to make you look worse. Despite the unintentional dig, Trixie chuckled at the remark, watching as Fluttershy gave Dash a gentle nudge with her elbow that went completely unnoticed. Thanks, Dash. Trixie thinks she has some idea of who might be responsible, but she doesn't have any proof, or even a name. She sighed and shrugged her shoulders, burying the frustration that came with the false rumors as best she could. Anyway, other than that, Trixie received a letter from the hospital. They are asking Trixie to come in tomorrow for a checkup. Ha, as if. They're just sore losers. Rainbow Dash huffed, clearly still irritated from the previous piece of news. Trixie still intends to go. She feels great, but Fluttershy has explained to Trixie that may be deceptive. So getting a diagnosis will take the guesswork out of this. With any luck Trixie will be casting spells by the time she gets home. Trixie said with excitement. Sure, it was possible that she would be told she couldn't, but that just meant the status quo remained, so she had nothing to lose and everything to gain. Showing a soft grin while looking at Rainbow Dash, Trixie added. Not that Trixie needs your magic to make you see fireworks, Dashy. Rolling her eyes, Rainbow Dash groaned. Yeah, with any luck you'll be better, so I can actually hit you when you say stuff like that. She chuckled and gave Trixie a grin. Enjoy it while you can, Thiefsy. Wrinkling her nose in disgust with the terrible name, Trixie glowered while she looked Rainbow Dash in the eye, an unspoken staring competition starting between them as they had their back and forth. Careful, or Trixie will see what other firsts she can steer. Raising a hoof to draw attention, Fluttershy interjected. Excuse me, her hospital. In Ponyville? I mean. I don't think anything will happen, but, ponies might say things. About the rumors? Fluttershy developed a fresh coat of crimson in her face while she listened to her friends. Fluttershy's objection had them both break away at the same time, depriving the contest of a winner. Huh? Oh. Yes, thank you, Fluttershy. Trixie was getting to that. She gave Fluttershy a thankful smile for getting them back on topic, though she was surprised Fluttershy had found the conviction to interrupt them, however gently. Rainbow Dash, meanwhile, wore an expression that said she declared herself the winner of the match. A look of smug satisfaction was clear on her face as she leaned back on the couch and observed Trixie. Trixie opened her mouth to call Dash out, but her eyes drifted back to Fluttershy. Sighing, Trixie continued down the right path. Trixie wishes to go, but Ponyville hospitality is not something Trixie wishes to experience twice. So, she would rather not go to the hospital alone. The appointment is set for tomorrow morning at 10, though Trixie is not sure how long it will take. So, you would like it if we came with you, Trixie? Fluttershy asked. Yes. Though, not you, Fluttershy. Trixie tried to sound as tactful as she possibly could. Not that Trixie does not love spending time with you, but rather, if ponies saw Fluttershy with Trixie, they would suspect Trixie is here, so they could find Trixie. Oh. Okay. I understand. Fluttershy nodded slowly. I am sure no pony would mind, but if it makes you feel safer to keep it a secret for now, that's fine. Trixie folded her ears flat against her scalp. It felt just awful to exclude Fluttershy with an excuse like that, but it was for the best. Rainbow Dash wrapped a wing around Fluttershy and leaned over beside her. Yeah, I'm real sure that's the only thing, Trixie. It's got nothing to do with you being worried about Fluttershy in case something happens, am I right? The sarcasm dripping off her words was thick enough to clog a sink. Fluttershy perked up, looking at Rainbow Dash a moment, then back at Trixie. Is that true, Trixie? You are worried someone might hurt me if they see I'm with you? She sounded equal parts incredulous and frightened. Glaring at Rainbow Dash for a moment, Trixie nodded in defeat. Fine, yes. Trixie already made you walk into one dangerous area. She is not keen on making you go into a second. If it's the three of us, Trixie is sure nothing will happen. However, if we do, she is not sure what will happen the next time you walk through town alone, Fluttershy. Rainbow Dash folded her arms over her chest with a smirk. But I can come? So you don't care what happens to me? Trixie mirrored Dash's infectious smirk. Not one bit. Staring back at Rainbow Dash, Trixie could not help but feel mischievous. Fluttershy looked from Dash to Trixie, clearly aware they were going off on their own again. Oh, I have an idea. If you want to hear it. I was just thinking. What if Trixie went alone, but me and Rainbow Dash follow from a distance? Snapping out of it, Trixie looked to Fluttershy, and considered it for a moment. Oh. That could actually work much better. If something happens, then you two just happen to be there, like Big Mac was. No pony would have any reason to think we're together. Oh, yeah. And if nothing happens, maybe you will stop being so paranoid. Rainbow Dash quipped. Not likely, Trixie muttered under her breath. She quickly perked up again though to avoid dampening the mood. Good idea, Fluttershy. Once at the hospital we'll see how much time it takes. If it's over and done within a few minutes we can go home the same way. If it takes a long time, well, Trixie doubts anything bad will be happening in there, so you can both go to work and pick Trixie up later. Fluttershy nodded, smiling brightly with the acceptance of her suggestion. Sure, Trixie. Sounds good to me. I've got a shift tomorrow, but I should be able to squeeze in a quick escort mission. Hey, maybe I can pretend I'm working. So business as usual then? Trixie teased. Seriously, another shift? She's done more work these past 2 days than the past 2 weeks. What's up with that? She could only hope it was not going to be a regular thing. Why Celestia, I hope it turns out you are fine. Rainbow Dash said in a manner closer to a threat than a well-wishing. Okay, so hospital visit resolved. Anything else you wanted to say? Or is it my turn? Trixie looked confused for a moment. Trixie is done, yes. Your turn? What did you want to talk about? No sooner had she said it, when the realization set in that she had yet to hear what Rainbow's plan was for their date. Trixie's got it, yes, do tell. Oh, yes, Rainbow Dash, how was your day? Fluttershy smiled, getting comfortable under the wind that was still around her. Thumping her chest, Rainbow Dash visibly swelled up with more pride than Trixie thought safe for anyone. Pegasus. I got promoted. You're looking at the full-time captain of the Ponyville and surrounding areas weather team. Fluttershy gasped and wrapped her hooves around Rainbow Dash, tightly. That's great, Rainbow Dash. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Oh, no. I didn't even make something special to celebrate. I'm so sorry, but I didn't know. Trixie couldn't help but smile while she watched her friends together like that. It seemed to her like she should just let them have this moment to themselves. To that end, Trixie resisted the urge to join in and make it a group hug, promising herself that there'd be better times for those soon enough. Trixie knew how much Rainbow Dash's shoddy employment had been bothering Fluttershy ever since she left the Cloudsdale weather team on her account. Looks like she got that captain position after all, Fluttershy. Chuckling at Fluttershy's panic, Rainbow Dash returned the hug. Hey now, it wouldn't be a surprise if I told you in advance, would it? No pony else knew either, well except the weather manager I guess. Congratulations, Dash, Trixie is thinking you weren't very surprised about it. Trixie finally chimed in. Thanks, Trixie. You are right, it wasn't a big shock, huh? I usually get to take charge whenever something big needs to be done, like the storm last night, or winter wrap-up, that kind of thing. The only difference is that now it's official. The last captain, Rainy Day, retired, and obviously recommended yours truly. She brushed her hoof on her chest fur and looked at it idly while she spoke, as if it was the most natural thing in the world, but there was no hiding the light of excitement in her eyes as she told the story. Fluttershy was all smiles as she listened. You deserve it, Rainbow Dash. Oh, I know just the thing. Since we're going to town tomorrow anyway, I bet I could get something together. Trixie grinned while she gave Fluttershy a gentle nudge. Fluttershy, surprise parties don't work if you say you are preparing them. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not very good at this. Oh, I bet if I asked Pinkie Pie she would be happy to set it up. Again, Fluttershy, if you say you have some pony prepare the party then it's not a surprise party. Tensing up, Rainbow Dash looked around as if she expected something to explode. After a second she turned to Trixie. I wouldn't be so sure about that, Trixie. Pinkie Pie could tell you the time and place and still make it a surprise party. Trixie raised an eyebrow with a sudden displayed paranoia. Now that she thought about it, this Pinkie Pie had come up in conversation before, and it was always something weird. Again with the Pinkie Pie? Trixie is starting to think she is just another one of your old mare's tales. Oh yeah? I'm telling you, Trixie, not a single birthday, sleepover, or celebration is about to take place in Ponyville, without Pinkie Pie somehow knowing about it. Rolling her eyes, Trixie felt she was clearly being messed with by this point. Yeah right, Trixie is not falling for it. Do you have any proof? Trixie has never even seen this mare. You want proof? Alright fine, I happen to have the perfect thing. Rainbow Dash grinned widely, but did not produce anything. Well? I don't have it on me, it's at home. Sure it is. Hey, I'll bring it tomorrow. You can have it I guess. Trixie looked at Rainbow Dash, trying to read her face, but she could not get anything from it. Trixie will hold you to that. Fluttershy looked curious about what kind of proof Rainbow Dash might have as well. I'm pretty sure there was something else I was supposed to say. Rainbow Dash drawled while she scratched her chin, mimicking a thinking pose. Trixie involuntarily inched a bit closer across the couch. Dash had kept her waiting for so long, and she was apparently still intending to draw it out even more. Grinding her teeth as she watched Dash, Trixie finally snapped. Just tell Trixie about the date already. The grin on Rainbow Dash's face grew impossibly wide. Eager much? After receiving Trixie's best death glare, she continued. Okay fine. First of all, I am not going to tell you what we're gonna do, that would ruin the surprise. She blew a raspberry in response to Trixie's scowl. However, how does the day after tomorrow sound? I'll come get you at noon. Laughingly, she added, unless you have other plans. You actually. Fluttershy raised a hoof. I already, have something for me and Trixie the day so, maybe try for next week instead? I'm sorry, Rainbow Dash. Both Trixie and Rainbow Dash gave Fluttershy a surprised look. Oh, you have? Well I guess maybe the day after. No, that won't work. Rainbow Dash contemplated as she looked up at the ceiling, mentally going over her work schedule. No. Maybe. I guess it would be next week. Fluttershy nodded slowly. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. There's always so much more work after a storm, and there must be even more this time. But, you'd have lots of time to make plans. Trixie was speechless while she let it sink in for a moment. Not only had she just found out their date was delayed, and thus would have to wait even longer to find out what it was, but now she found out Dash was working all week. Would she even get to see her? She stared at Rainbow Dash, and felt her chest ache. Dash looked so far away all of a sudden, and Trixie wanted to just grab her to make sure she could. Yeah, I guess, but... him. I usually like to take the third day off, and it's hard to get Captain Rainy Day to move 3 days around. Whoa, wait a sec. I guess since I'm the captain now, I get to call the shots on who works when. Rainbow Dash shot up straight. Huh. Perfect. All I have to do is move the day around. I bet I could get Cloud Chaser to trade. She looked over at Trixie with a grin. Got any plans for tomorrow afternoon? The hospital visit was scheduled for the morning, and Trixie was pretty confident that she would be done by the time lunch rolled around. There was no way it was going to take more than a few hours. Trixie does now. Pulling away from an apparently catatonic Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash rolled off the couch and spread her wings. Okay. This is more like it. I hate waiting around. I just have to hurry and talk to Cloud Chaser before she goes to bed. See you girls tomorrow. Without a moment's warning, Rainbow Dash bolted out the door in pursuit of whichever poor Pegasus she was about to rope into doing her job for her. It happened so fast that Trixie did not even have time to say goodbye, much less try to sneak in a goodbye hug, or kiss if she could get away with it. Still, Trixie made no effort to contain her excitement as she watched Rainbow Dash fly off at top speeds. Yes. That worked out perfectly. Don't you think, Fluttershy? Fluttershy? There was no reply. Chapter 81. Right. Trixie carried a bag of mice naples on her back. Making her way past the tiny food bowls, she did her very best not to spill too much. It didn't really make sense to her, most mice would eat off the floor anyway, but she'd learn it not to question it by now. Although Trixie had done many of Fluttershy's chores over the day, there was one that she had neglected. Though really, that was all Rainbow Dash's fault, and totally not the result of her falling asleep on the job. If Trixie had not been disturbed, she surely would have gotten around to feeding the animals before dinner time. As it stood, however, bath time and an early dinner thanks to Fluttershy and Dash working together, had made Trixie forget about the animals' evening meal. Which had been awkward to explain when Angel, who else, demanded food. It was strangely quiet in the little cottage on the meadow. Or at least, that's what it felt like, but Trixie could not put her hoof on what was different. Mentally, she ran through a list of all the usual noises that were supposed to be there, animals busily scurrying about, the gentle sound of the wind blowing through the leaves growing on the roof, Fluttershy's occasional cooing at her furry freeloaders. Actually, now that Trixie thought about it, that last one was missing. Trixie looked over to Fluttershy, who was in the process of filling the food bowls for the rabbits with the kibbles of the ferrets. Exactly how Trixie could tell the difference between the two kibbles she did not want to think about. Rather, the important thing was that Fluttershy was clearly distracted. Even without the slightly strange atmosphere, Trixie knew something was not right with Fluttershy. For a moment, the sweet Pegasus had been completely spaced out. She even missed saying goodbye to Dash. Though to be fair, so had Trixie herself, but Fluttershy apparently stayed that way. At the time, Trixie merely needed to poke Fluttershy to snap her out of it, and she was quickly assured that Fluttershy was just fine. Trixie was not so sure, and feared that perhaps Fluttershy was still a little sick. It had been a bit odd how quickly Fluttershy had recovered, and now it seemed that perhaps she had merely been putting on a brave face. As long as Trixie was focused on Fluttershy's face, she had to admit that Fluttershy did not look tired or sickly. Instead, she was wearing what Trixie could only call Fluttershy's thinking face. It was easy to tell, as one of the few times that Fluttershy did not smile constantly was when she was lost in thought, which Trixie could only assume meant she was not thinking of cute animals. That wasn't to say that Fluttershy never smiled while she was in thought, but merely that it was not as ever present. Trixie observed for a little while longer. She liked how Fluttershy was comfortable enough with Trixie now to show Trixie her other sides, even if this one was unintentional. It was a nice change to see from her constant state of nervous tension around most other ponies, though angry Fluttershy was one side Trixie hoped never to be on the wrong end of. Still, she supposed she couldn't just let this continue. Fluttershy? Are you sure you are okay? Trixie set down the bag of mice feed in the supply closet. Him? Fluttershy blinked a few times as she was pulled back to the present. Oh, did you say something, Trixie? Is something on your mind? You've not been this quiet since Trixie first got here, she asked, before biting into a bag with a picture of carrots and lettuce, then dragging it onto her back. Fortunately they were pretty lightweight. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just I was thinking about, if it's really a good idea to go out with Rainbow Dash, so soon I mean. Yeah, you're still not well. I mean, it's just, she's kind of, reckless, and doesn't think things through sometimes. Fluttershy strategically turned to tend to the food bowls behind her, showing her back to Trixie as she spoke. Trixie tilted her head while she listened, and grinned softly. Well that makes sense. You did mention before how much we have in common. It figures we'd share the two, she said, laughingly. It was obvious Fluttershy did not think it was a laughing matter however. Trixie settled into a more serious, reassuring tone. Trixie understands your concern, Fluttershy. Since Trixie will be at the hospital first, she will make sure to follow their advice on what they believe her limit should be, okay? Oh okay. I don't mean to be a bother. Fluttershy nodded, then returned her attention to the food. Smiling, Trixie shook her head. Fluttershy, even if you were a bother, Trixie would rather you speak your mind. Even if Trixie does not always like to hear it. It's still good to hear from a more level-headed pony. It was not entirely true, only very specific ponies counted. Fluttershy smiled back and nodded quietly. Thank you, Trixie. She turned her attention back to her work, then paused briefly, before she let out a gasp. Oh my, this isn't the right bag at all. Noticing that Fluttershy had finally caught on, Trixie giggled, pleased, and trotted closer with the correct bag already on her back. Don't worry Fluttershy, Trixie's got your bag covered. To Fluttershy's credit, she did not zone out again for the remainder of the evening. Working together, the small mistakes were quickly rectified, and all the animals were served their proper meals, with a side of apologies from Fluttershy. The return of the final missing sound had Trixie smiling, it just didn't feel like home without it. It was twilight by the time everything had been taken care of, which left just enough time to prepare some tea before bedtime. As was becoming a bit of a tradition, they relaxed on the couch, with a side table pulled up close to house anything that might stain the couch if knocked over. During tea time, they shared in a little bit of small talk. To Trixie's delight, Fluttershy just kept getting a bit better at it each time, though it was possible that was because all they had to talk about really were small things that happened around the meadow. Fortunately, there was one other topic Fluttershy was happy to talk about too, if prompted. And that's when Rainbow Dash just swooped in, and yelled at them so loudly even I got scared. Fluttershy said with an embarrassed look. She did that a lot, actually, but she didn't just stick to yelling after a while. I mean, that's only because it stopped working, nah, not because she was violent. Oh, yes Trixie understands. If she was all bark and no bite they'd just keep going. It's good that Dash, bit them. She laughed. In fact, Trixie had some pony try to bluff her before. If they'd actually followed up, Trixie may have respected them, but it just made it worse on them. Trixie sipped from her cup, and tactfully set it back down on the table. It seemed she could prevent her hooves from shaking if she didn't try to hold it the entire time. In hindsight, Trixie supposes that's what it means not to overdo it. Using a neatly embroidered cloth, Fluttershy lifted the teapot to top off her cup. Oh, that is a lot like what Rainbow Dash said. At the time. Though, Not quite like that. Fluttershy looked a little uneasy as she struggled for the right words. Did you mean, like, during your show? Trixie perked up her ears. Show? Oh, maybe not exactly. But Trixie supposes you could say it is related. Coughing nonchalantly, Trixie averted her gaze and looked out the window. The final rays of light were nearly gone. Ah, look at the time. We'd better hurry. Trixie does not know about you, but she's exhausted. Fluttershy slipped off the couch to carry the teapot to the kitchen, but when she heard Trixie speak she shot her a worried look. Catching the look from the corner of her eyes, Trixie turned back to Fluttershy, giving a tired smile. Not that exhausted. Trixie is just keeping her word. Anyway, why don't you head upstairs? Trixie will take the couch. Doing her best to help, Trixie followed after Fluttershy, carrying the empty cups. Fluttershy objected, in her own passive way. I'm, kind of used to the couch by now, Trixie. You can take the bed again. I only took it last time so you wouldn't, catch anything. Since you were both down here. Trixie looked at Fluttershy for a moment, then shook her head. No, this really can't go on like this. It's your bed. You are the one who is sickly, while Trixie is fine now. She isn't even bothered by morning light anymore. She gave the cups a quick rinse before leaving them on the counter to dry overnight. There was no reason to risk handling a towel, if she could simply let time do the work. Oh, I don't know. I would really just feel much better if you were in bed, Trixie. If that's okay with you. Besides, if you were at the hospital you would have a bed. Nurse Redheart expects me to give you the best care I can. While she spoke, Fluttershy trotted across the room to climb back onto the couch, then motioned to the stairs. Pretty please. Trixie recoiled a little, as Fluttershy gave her the cutest look she'd ever seen. It was very persuasive. No, Trixie must resist. Staring back at Fluttershy, Trixie did her best to keep her wits. Trixie refuses. Trixie has already been on a hospital bed, and the couch is much more comfy. Well, then that just means that the couch is fine, right? So you don't have a problem with me taking it? Fluttershy smiled while she made another motion towards the stairs. Go on, Trixie. I'll see you in the morning. If you wait too long, it will be dark. Trixie huffed. Trixie insists, in fact. Trixie climbed onto the couch and demonstratively plopped down on the cushions. Trixie is not moving. This couch is now officially commandeered by the great and powerful Trixie. Fluttershy can go to her own bed. Blinking in disbelief, Fluttershy sat up straight. Trixie. Go, please. Don't be like that. In response, Trixie simply got more comfortable on the couch. No. Trixie, Fluttershy's voice started to gain some authority to it. Please stop, acting like a fool. Trixie made absolutely no efforts to get up, and simply closed her eyes. Trixie will act like a fool if it pleases Trixie. Now go on, it will be dark soon, isn't that what you said, Fluttershy? Trixie. No. R.U.S. No. Well, I'm not going, so. You should. Or no pony has the bed. Then Trixie supposes we'll both be on the couch, it's big enough anyway. Trixie lazily opened one eye a little, making it look like she was about to fall asleep any minute, despite how adamant her refusals had been so far. Fluttershy, on the other hoof, was starting to look worked up. Unless, you go upstairs. But, but. Finally, Fluttershy just let out a long exasperated sigh. So you're absolutely refusing to take the bed, instead of me? There's nothing I can say to change your mind? No. Trixie smirked a little, This was exactly the sort of thing they talked about just a little bit before. One had to be willing to go through with a bluff if they were called on it, not fold under pressure. Fluttershy got up from the couch and climbed down with another sigh. Okay, you win, Trixie. Come on then. Sorry, Fluttershy. What are you talking about? Trixie lifted her head from the couch to get a better look at Fluttershy. Well, if you refuse to take it instead of me, and we're both going to take the couch, we might as well just both take the bed. At least that way I know you'll have a good night's rest, and you'll know that I will too. She took a few steps towards the stairs, then turned to look over her shoulder at Trixie. Besides, we already know it will fit two ponies just fine. This had to be a trick, but it made so much sense. Trixie had definitely not expected Fluttershy to pull a compromise like that, though, in hindsight, making compromises was what she often did. Ultimately, it did accomplish her goal of getting Fluttershy to sleep in her own bed. After staring at Fluttershy warily for a few moments, Trixie got up and trotted after her. Very well, Trixie accepts. Thank you, Trixie. Fluttershy smiled at her, then led the way up to the bedroom. After entering, Fluttershy trotted over to the left side of the bed, and took a slow minute to crawl in and make herself comfortable. She was silent for a few seconds before she quickly asked, "Oh, I'm sorry, which side do you prefer?" Trixie chuckled and shook her head. Isn't it obvious? Trixie is always right. Fluttershy blinked blankly for a moment, then giggled, shaking her head as she caught on. Oh, good. I like being left over. I've got nothing. Fluttershy blushed. That's all right, Fluttershy. Trixie can't think of anything good either. Trixie smiled, getting comfy on the right side of the mattress, then pulled the blanket up over them. Despite Trixie's claims to the contrary, she felt the bed really was 1,000 times more comfortable than the couch. Meanwhile, Fluttershy had gone suspiciously quiet again, and a quick inspection proved she had her thinking face on again. What is she thinking about? Trixie could not be sure, but the moment of silence gave her time to really think about what she was doing. In her pursuit of ensuring Fluttershy would sleep well, it had almost escaped her attention. Trixie was in bed with Fluttershy. Trixie felt her face ignite at the sudden realization, and quickly went over their conversation. It really had been Fluttershy that suggested it, not some misconstrued demand of her own. Granted, many ponies shared a bed for all kinds of reasons, and there only being one bed seemed like the most legit one. On the one hoof, Trixie felt she should perhaps double-check, but on the other she really liked their arrangement right now, and did not want to jeopardize it by making Fluttershy feel self-conscious. The way she had proposed it really had been just a logical conclusion, two friends sharing the only bed in the house. Trixie let out a long breath to try and relax herself. She was worrying over nothing. Good night, Fluttershy. It was nice like this. The bed felt warmer than previous nights, which made it even better. Trixie could get used to this. Huh? Oh, good night, Trixie. Fluttershy mumbled, then quieted down again. All of a sudden, she shot up straight. Wait a minute. Startled, Trixie scooted away, and nearly sent herself over the edge. A frantic clamber got her back into the safe zone. What is it? Fluttershy cleared her throat, then looked straight at Trixie. I guess I'll take what's left then. She beamed proudly,